My great kids, welcome to this class on decimals. In this class, we are going to be looking at how we convert decimals to fractions and fractions to decimals. We are also going to look at some basic operations of decimals. For example, addition and subtraction. But first of all, let's look at what decimal is. What is a decimal? Well, these are numbers that have a decimal point between any two of the digits. For example, we have our decimal here and is 34.123. 34.123. And some of you might be wondering why I didn't say 34.125. Well, this is because after the decimal point to the right, the numbers you get put together is always less than 1. That is, it is not up to 1. So it's a fraction of a whole. And so you can see why this part is called a decimal fraction. So when you say 125, you are saying it's a number that is bigger than what? That is bigger than 1. So we prefer to call it digit by digit. So we have 34, which is a whole number, and the decimal point separating the two parts, and finally the decimal fraction part. So you can see the decimal point between 4 and 1. So it's always between two digits of the number. So you can't have more than one decimal point in a decimal. Take note of that. All right. Now let's look at how we can convert between decimals and fractions. Decimals and fractions. Well, we have two questions here. We have 6/10 plus 3/100 plus 1/10,000. We are expected to convert this to decimal. All right? So we are going to take these questions one after the other. First, let's look at the first question. The first question is 6/10 plus 3/100 plus 1/1000. These are three different fractions. Three different fractions. So, to do this, we must look at the numerator and the denominator of the fraction. Now, first, let's look at 6/10. 6/10. 6/10. Now, when you look at 6/10, you discover that under we have a 10, which has 1 0. This 1 0 means that this 6 this 6 decimal point will be shifted to the left-hand side from the original point. Every number has a decimal point just after it in this position. So to move it, we need to move it by one position because it has a 0 under the fraction. And so when we do that, we are going to have a 0.6. 0.6. Now, let's use the same method to change 3/100 to decimal. So now we have 3 there, but the decimal is going to be shifted twice because it has 2 zeros beneath it. two zeros beneath it. So that means we are going to shift it twice, like this, 1 and 2. Now, once we do that, we are going to fill this position with a 0. All right? And so we are going to have 0.03. So if we apply this same method here in 1 over 1, 10,000, we are going to have a similar result. So we have 4 zeros altogether, and that means we are going to shift the decimal point 4 times. And so when we do that, we are going to have 1, 2, 3, and 4. You see? So that is why 1 over 10,000 is 0.0001. 0.0001. So what we do, we add up these decimals. And once we do this, we are going to get 0.6, because 6 is occupying the first position. All right, so then in the second position, you can see the 3 occupying position number 2. So it becomes 0.63. But in the third position is a 0. The third position is occupied by a 0. So a 0 is also going to appear in our answer like this. And in the fourth position is a 1. A 1. So we are going to have a 1 also in the fourth position. So that simply means our final answer becomes 0.6303. 0.6301. All right. Now, let's look at the next question. The next question is 4 whole number plus 4 over 100 plus 8 over 1000. Now, this question has a whole number. So how do we deal with this whole number? All right, let's see. First, we have 4 plus 4 over 100 plus 8 over 1000. The 4 remains a whole number, but the same way we've changed the previous fractions, we are going to change these ones like that. So when we do this, we are going to get, the following. First, 4 over 100 will give us 0.04. 8 over 1000, shifting decimal point 3 times, is going to give us 0.008. So the same way, we are going to combine these decimals. 4 is a whole number, so it's going to be 4.0, because the first position is not occupied by any number apart from 0. So we have a 0. Second position is occupied by a 4. So we have 4. And the third position is occupied by an 8. And so we have an 8 also. So our answer becomes 4.048. 4.048. So that becomes our final answer. All right. Now, we are going to try to solve the third question, which is the final question. The third question, which is the final question, we have a 7.5. 7 whole number, 1 over 2. So we are going to try to change this to a decimal. Now first, we try to separate the whole number from the proper fraction. So we are going to have 7 plus 1 over 2. Remember, the whole number is kept. We don't try to change the whole number. Then the proper fraction, which is 1 over 2, we try to make it look like the fractions we are used to, which is always a number over a number with 1 and 0. The denominators are always either 10, 100, 1000, and so on. So by finding the equivalent fraction of 1 over 2, we can make it look like 5 over 10 by multiplying by 5 over 5. So we have 7 plus 5 over 10, because 1 times 5 is 5 and 2 times 5 is 10. So our new fraction is now 7 plus 5 over 10. Now, in a similar way, we are going to try to change this 5 over 10 into something else, a decimal. So when we do that, we are going to get 0.5. 0.5, because it has only one 0, so it means we are going to move the decimal point just one position. So that gives us 0.5. So once we add this 7 plus 7 to 0.5, we are going to get 7.5, because that position of 0 for whole number has been occupied by 7. So our final answer becomes 7.5. 7.5. All right, now let's try to look at the last topic or subtopic under this heading, addition and subtraction of decimals. Now let's make use of two questions here. I want you to understand that when adding fractions, what is very important is the arrangement. You must make sure you arrange your fraction properly. How do you do that? You make sure the decimal points are arranged vertically upward or under each other, as we are going to see now. Now let's look at the solution to question number 1. Now, this is the arrangement we have. We were given 567.89, which is written first, then 32.7. You can see the 32.7 is now 32.70. So that space that is left is now filled with a 0. And I will also make sure that the decimal point in that number is also under the other decimal points. The last number there was 6.03. So in order to make sure that the decimal points are on the straight line, 6 must come under 2, and 0 under 7, and 3 under the other 0. Now we can start adding the normal way. Now when we try to add, this is what we are going to get. First, we are going to see that 9 plus 3 is 12. So we put down 2, carry 1. 1 plus 8 is 9, plus 7 is 16, plus 0 is 16. So we put down 6, carry 1. So that 1 is written here. So we add the 1 to 7, we have 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 2, 10, plus 6, 16. So we put down a 6, and then carry 1. Now we add this 1 to that 6, and so we have a 7. 7 plus 3 is a 10. So we put down a 0, and then carry 1. Finally, when we add this 1 to 5, we get a 6. And so that is 606.62. 606.62. So adding decimals is not difficult at all, but we must be very careful the way we arrange them. Now let's look at the final question, which is subtraction. Subtraction. Now this time we are looking at the same arrangement, decimal under decimal, and so we have 659.60 because we need to fill up that space. And so the 44.35 will now come under 6 and 0. So once we are done with this, we draw our lines and start subtraction. To subtract 5 from 0, we know it is not possible. So what we do is to borrow from the 6. And so when we borrow from the 6, we put it under the, we put it close to the 0. So we have our 10. 10, take away 5, we have a 5. All right, so we have 5 left here. So it's no longer 6 but a 5. 5 minus 3 gives us a 2. So 5 minus 3 is 2. We put down a decimal point. 9 take away 4 is a 5. 5 take away 4 is 1. And then we have our 6 down here. So you can see our final answer. Our final answer becomes 615.25. 615.25. That becomes our final answer. Well, this is all we're going to take on this video. Thank you for watching, and see you